Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Silent Majority Politics YouTube channel. To start, I would like to ask you to please hit the subscribe button if you like the content, and we will start with today's video. Today, we will be discussing mail-in ballot voter fraud and the possibility of it arising in Pennsylvania. With Pennsylvania state election officials stating today that some counties will be waiting until Wednesday morning to count mail-in ballots, this has caused a lot of controversy. This controversy has mainly arisen out of the Trump administration and amongst Trump supporters and Republicans alike. With Governor Wolf, the governor of Pennsylvania, and state election officials deciding that, for one, mail in ballots will be counted in a majority of the states starting on Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. and with states with higher city populations, the mail-in ballots being counted last. This has caused a lot of controversy that there could be potential voter fraud. One has to wonder why this is the case, that mail-in ballots will be counted last, specifically with regards to the fact that they will be the ones being received first. The governor of Pennsylvania has assured everybody and has reminded them to be patient and to not worry, and that a winner for the state of Pennsylvania, a key battleground state, may be decided at the earliest on Friday. To start with this bombshell dropping over the last couple days, President Trump has responded. President Trump has stated that if there is an unfair election in the state of Pennsylvania, a state many proclaim Trump will need, he will be sending lawyers to Pennsylvania to challenge the results, which many feel is justified. As it states in this USA Today article, which was updated today at 5 p.m., just a half hour ago, President Donald Trump says he would likely take legal action if he believes Tuesday's election is conducted unfairly, specifically in Pennsylvania. As soon as that election's over, we're going in with our lawyers, Trump told reporters Sunday, just before a rally in North Carolina. Trump did deny a report that he planned to declare victory if he is ahead in Pennsylvania and enough of other states on election day, even if mail-in ballots were still being counted. Now, that is big news because there has been many who have said that Trump would prematurely declare a victory if he has a lead on election night. Now, under either circumstance, neither of the two major party candidates should never declare a win prematurely, and it should be reassuring to many that Trump would not go down that route. Continuing on, he also said it would be unfair for Pennsylvania and other states to count ballots after Tuesday, as they plan to do. At least 5 counties have announced they will not be counting absentee and mail-in ballots until the day after the election. And right here is where the problem arises. Most think that wouldn't it be logical to count these ballots first? Most people feel that they should be counted as they come in, or that the latest they should be starting to be counted at 7 a.m. on Tuesday when polls open. As Trump goes on to say, I don't think it's fair that we have to wait for a long period of time after the election. That would be a terrible thing. As Trump has said many times, the election ends on Tuesday, and with ballots being counted almost up to a week after, it does arise chances of voter fraud. Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro has fired back at the president with a dare, or in other words, a threat, challenging him that our elections are over when all the votes are counted, and and took a shot at the president that if he wants to bring lawyers to try to challenge the results, he would be happy to defeat him in court. As it is known, most states almost never have their full votes counted on election night. It just doesn't happen. In most cases, there's enough cases where one candidate is so far ahead that a makeup in the amount of votes is not going to happen. But Biden campaign manager Jen O'Malley Dillon said today that there's no scenario where Donald Trump will be declared a victor on election night. Even if Trump sweeps battleground states in the South that could have their results earlier, he will still be short of 270 electoral votes. Now, O'Malley Dillon is most likely right here because with this new arise of mail in ballots and absentee ballots and a more demand for them, the vote should most likely not come in with the winner on election night. But if it's anything like 2016 has told us that polls are not the say all end all for elections like they might have been in the past. And if the Biden campaign is basing this decision off of polls, then it would not be a very wise thing to do so. Also, Pennsylvania is counting all absentee ballots received by November 6th. This is 3 days after the election. Now, this right here is another cause of question into the validity of Pennsylvania's voting results. The fact that in some cases the polls will be closed at 8 p.m., but absentee ballots can be received up to 3 days after the election, and many will seem not to be fair. And if you think about it, there is definitely justification for that. Why should a ballot be received 3 days after the election to be counted, but if somebody can't get to the polling by 8 p.m., the polls close? Pennsylvania and Wisconsin have not begun to count ballots in any scenario, which is two of the main battleground states, and this has caused a unrest amount of condemnation from the Trump administration campaign and from his voters. Trump is expected to hold a big lead with the initial results, which will include predominantly in-person election day votes likely favoring Trump. On election night in Pennsylvania, Biden is expected to begin closing the gap when absentee ballots are closed, but it could take several days or even weeks to complete. Once again, it goes on to say that Trump cannot simply declare himself the winner of the election. It's up to officials of Pennsylvania and other states to declare the winners of their electoral votes. As polls showed, Trump in tight races with Joe Biden in a number of states, including Florida, North Carolina, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Iowa, as well as Pennsylvania. It could be days before the final results in any of those states are known. So, as you can see here, here's an example of a left-leaning newspaper leaning in a way that while this voting unrest could be happening in Pennsylvania, they're trying to make the argument that it could also be happening in any of the other key battle swing states. But what they failed to mention is none of these other key battleground states will be waiting until the next day to start counting their mail-in votes, which they will receive before the in-person votes. This is definitely a question that the governor of Pennsylvania, Tom Wolf, is going to have to answer going forward. And as litigation, some analysts question whether federal courts will get involved in the counting of those ballots. Many political analysts said Trump is setting the stage to challenge the credibility of the election should he lose. And they tried to push it off as a story about Trump seeking to undermine faith in democracy. I think that Trump is not trying to undermine faith in democracy. I think that he raises a valid point. There should be some deadline up to after the elections that ballots have to either be fully counted or have to be stopped being counted by. It should not be on individual states to demand when that set time frame is, because a lot of voter fraud can occur, especially with all Pennsylvania fighting back on everything that the federal government is trying to do to help set up to make sure there is a swift transition and a clear-cut winner as soon as possible. The fact that these 5 counties that are being considered to be for the vote to be of mail-in ballots to be counted late on are in historically Democratic counties. This definitely can point at a potential rise of voter fraud in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, one cannot definitively say that voter fraud will occur in Pennsylvania already, but for future reference, it is something that Pennsylvania voters should be leery of, and the whole nation should be leery of, and should be paying closer attention and pushing for the state of Pennsylvania to get these ballots counted as soon as possible. Now, they set Friday as a timeline for that to be completed. They could very well have the final tally before Friday, but as people know, with a lot of these voting things, the initial counts and the final counts have, in a lot of different states, like in Georgia and Florida over the last couple of elections, there has been questions resulting the validity of the results, and it would not shock me if Pennsylvania, sometime later in November, if it's a key battleground state for either candidate, is going to be called into question for maybe even a recount. I think that while the push for mail-in ballots is not a bad thing, I think that the governor of Pennsylvania, Tom Wolf, is his election officials in these key counties where there can be question called into, should be looking for a clear-cut way for transparency than trying to just tell people to be patient. If you move to rush to tell people to be patient, it is just going to cause them to be impatient. I would just like to remind you that you should keep an eye on the state of Pennsylvania on Tuesday night, definitely Wednesday morning, as the election ballots for mail-in ballots begin to be counted in these 5 states, which do include Dauphin County, which is where Harrisburg, the Pennsylvania state capital, is located, and Philadelphia County. We're going to wrap up the video here, so if you have any questions, please don't be afraid to express your questions in the comments below. And if you like this content, I greatly would like you to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell for any new videos. Thank you for your time and have a great rest of your day.